We accept stress, the physical, chemical, or emotional factors that cause bodily or mental tension, as being part and parcel with engagement in life, as the cost of doing business. We tolerate it to the extent of disregarding its effects entirely in the course of our affairs, as if it were an inevitable consequence of striving, of advancing, of improving our position. We have grown so accepting of the presence of stress in our routines that we have adopted coping strategies to try to make peace with stress. These strategies we call stress management. This embracing of stress as an immanent paradigm of living in modern society would be more appropriately referred to as stress maintenance, because it proliferates stress, giving it a stronghold within which to anchor. Managing stress does not alleviate, mediate, or eradicate it. It reinforces it at best, and bolsters it at worst. There are factors in life which tend towards stress. Moments of consequence, especially those of a life-or-death nature, cause great stress. But these are typically short-term fight-or-flight responses within the body from which our mind does not suffer long-term trauma, regardless of the outcome. If we survive the moment, our body returns to normal operating procedures and our mind is relieved. If we do not survive the moment, then, well, we transcend the physical and are no longer concerned with the state of the body. These are largely unforeseeable and unavoidable. They are part of the survival experience of being mortal, and all creatures share this plight. Nature provides us the balance within our chemistry to counter the negative impact of this type of stressor. The kind of stress which tends to be harmful to our long-term health is not survivalist in nature, subject to passing mortal dangers. It is that which we inflict upon ourselves through our reactions to external factors in our environment, people, places, and things, which we carry with us in our psyche like an ever-present dark cloud of malevolence, adversely affecting our emotions and subsequently causing disease in our body. These self-generated stresses take residence in our cells and sinew, spreading poisons, toxins, and festering cancerous maladies throughout our physical being. These physical consequences of self-inflicted stressors then climb back up the ladder of self, souring our feelings and emotions, and, ultimately, corrupting our mind. So what starts in the mind, a creation of our own self-promoted paradigm, courses down to our cells until it poisons our acting body, then festers in its ascent through our feeling body until it successfully rots our thinking body. The ultimate consequence of this material corruption is the effect these play on our spirit, which is at our core and is the essence of our being. When the body becomes so rancid that it taints the emotions, and the emotions become so tainted that they poison the mind, which is the conduit between the material and immaterial realms of our being, our spirit cannot help but be adversely affected. This is the part of ourselves we carry forward into the great recycling, our soul, which transcends the physical. The state of our soul upon death determines our existential fate, ending the cycle of death and rebirth, or propelling us carnally forward, continuing our opportunity for personal evolution or devolution. If we refuse to evolve, to expand our consciousness toward unity with the All-Father, over lifetimes, we eventually degrade our soul to the point of spiritual death, the end of our existence, the ceasing of our being, ultimate darkness. This is the impact of the stresses we impose on ourselves from self-generated paradigms, the managing of self-designed maladies in our life experience, which manifest illness in our thoughts, words, and deeds. The external factors we allow to adversely affect us are unlimited, contributing stress to our physical, emotional, and mental systems. Anxieties and fears, regrets of past actions or inactions, worries of future uncertainties, struggles and catastrophes, real and imagined, feelings of inadequacy, lack, and self-pity, thoughts of angst and turmoil and hate, The breadth and depth of our capacity for stress is unencumbered and limited only by that of our imagination, and for these we do pay a heavy cost. The effects of stress on our health are not in question. Maladies such as cardiovascular problems, digestive issues, a weakened immune system, disrupted sleep, headaches and muscle tension, skin irritations, obesity, exacerbated pain, menstrual and sexual dysfunction are directly related to stress in the body. Anxiety and depression, irritability and anger, memory and concentration issues, substance abuse, and suicidal thoughts are directly related to stress in the mind and emotions. Stress can cause us to make poor dietary choices, keep us from exercising, can lead to addiction, compromise fertility and lower one's libido, raise blood pressure, affect the respiratory system, disrupt metabolism, cause drastic mood swings, increase risk of seizures, contribute to dementia, hamper the body's ability to heal properly, increase risk of type 2 diabetes, diminish hair growth, as well as cause nausea and vertigo. And the list goes on and on. The idea of managing stress assumes that stress is an ongoing, regular, normal part of life. And so-called experts will tell you this is the case. And if stress, as these so-called experts would have us believe, is something to be managed, which means it is pervasive and unavoidable, then the effects of stress on our life, only a few of which I just touched on, are also pervasive and unavoidable. So by embracing the concept of managing stress, we are by extension embracing the effects of this stress on our lives as if it were normal, as if it were to be expected. That we should throw our hands up in the air and accept stress as a constant from which there is no escape, as the background noise of life. Nothing about these health conditions is normal. It is not what nature intended. Nothing in nature experiences a constant and continuous paradigm of stress like we do. Again, we are speaking of self-imposed, imaginary paradigms of life and living here, which we ourselves generate in our minds, and which have little connection to the objective world of reality, or those which are the consequence of our modern paradigm, that of chasing ambitious materialism and creature comforts in exchange for the health and peace we should otherwise be realizing. Stresses which we wear like so many clothes, draped over our being, coloring our existence, or at least the perception we have of our existence. These we carry with us as an ever-present yoke, a never-ending burden. We are not referring to survivalist stresses which cause bursts of adrenaline and last for moments, quickly to subside and countered by natural remedies within our body. The stresses we generate in our imaginary paradigm, in our mental constructs, create our reality and shape our experience, resulting in diminished health. They wear on us from unyielding, constant, steady pressure, like the eroding of stones in the stream, or the effects of gravity on our skeletal system, compressing us, constricting us, and weighing us down. You may ask, how am I supposed to avoid stress while fulfilling my responsibilities? I am bombarded by constant stressors most every minute of every day. Isn't stress just the way of the world? And the answers to these very common questions are: 1. The solution is not in avoiding stressors, and 2. The way of the world is a self-fulfilling paradigm of dis-ease. It is what causes the stress, which it then prescribes to be managed. These questions focus on externalities, and when one's focus is on people, places, and things as their source of anything, whether that be love, wisdom, power, and joy, or, more commonly, hate, pettiness, dysfunction, and frustration, then their entire life situation and state of being hinges on the other, subject to the whims of society and the ill-begotten intentions of external agents. This is a recipe for disaster, an untenable paradigm of circumstance, blame, and deflection. It shifts all of one's power to create peace and health in their life to the randomness and instability of a lost world of the self-serving, misguided, and ill-informed. One does not avoid stress. The externalities which are commonly attributed to stress and its maladies will always and forever be present, as long as society continues to pursue unnatural, material, and self-aggrandizing ends. The stress of a situation does not stem from the situation, it is generated in our being, in our perception of that situation as being stressful for whatever reason, in our emotional reaction to it, in our physical discomfort in it. In order to decrease stress in your life, you must reshape your perception. There are many ancient philosophies which address this task. Nothing is good or bad on its own merits. The ancients taught that we are to view happenings, circumstances, and situations objectively, from a neutral perspective, not labeling anything as being of benefit or detriment. Eckhart Tolle is quoted as saying, "Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it." Socrates and Aristotle spoke of the importance of embracing what is. The concept of karma is imbued by acceptance of our past thoughts, words, and deeds as being the impetus of our present. Nelson Mandela tells us, "The greatest glory of living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall," which implies that we should see failures not as deterrents, but simply as steps along the way to success, opportunities to grow and better ourselves, to bolster our character and harden our resolve. Lou Holtz said that, "It is not the load that breaks you down, it is the way you carry it." The first lesson in the Tao, according to Lao Tzu, is that there are some things which it is a gain to lose, and a loss to gain. This expresses the neutrality of outcomes and objectivity of circumstance. One of my two favorite books as a child, both of which were to shape my future philosophical perspective, is Fortunately by Remy Charlip. The other book is Curious George by H.A. Ray. In Charlip's account, the main character experiences many externalities along his path which, at face value, may be considered fortunate or unfortunate. The undulation of fortune and misfortune all serve the same end, getting the hero to his destination, accomplishing his goal, emphasizing the lack of perception on reality and the potential good in all things. Another of my favorite stories, which demonstrates this same perspective, is the Taoist parable which tells of a farmer and his son. As the story goes, the farmer's horse ran away and the people said, "How unfortunate!" To which the farmer replied, "Maybe." The next day the horse returned with 7 wild horses. The people said, "How fortunate!" And the farmer replied, "Maybe." The following day the farmer's son tried to tame one of the wild horses, was thrown, and broke his leg. The people said, "How unfortunate!" Again the farmer replied, "Maybe." The next day the conscription officers came to the village and recruited all of the young men to join the war effort, and the villagers remarked how fortunate it was that the farmer's son was spared. The farmer responded, "Maybe." This parable tells us that we cannot know whether any one thing is good or bad on its own merits, that perspective is best maintained from a neutral and objective standpoint, and that all things work toward the favor of those who trust in the Tao, the way of things, the process. Ram Dass tells a story of a warlord and a monk. The warlord, who had a vicious reputation as being violently opposed to the religious orders, among other factions, entered a village. When he asked locals where to find the monks, the villagers told him that nearly all of the monks fled the village when they heard of his arrival, and that only one stayed behind, that this lone monk was at the temple, where he could be easily found. Furious, the warlord went straight to the temple to make a lesson of this foolish and defiant monk. When he arrived at the temple, the monk came out to greet him and his men. The warlord bounded up to the monk, raging with malicious intent. He shouted at the monk, launching spit and mucus in his face as he bellowed, "How dare you remain? Do you not know who I am? I could run my sword straight through your heart without batting an eye." The monk stepped even closer to the warlord and gently and welcomingly replied, "Do you not know who I am? I could receive your sword through my heart without batting an eye." The lesson hidden in this story is one of accepting our circumstance with willful and joyful abandon. Fear kills the soul. Joy fills the soul. Whether one lives or dies, the state of their soul is all that ultimately matters, and all that they take with them into the void. And since we are each ultimately responsible for the state of our soul, it should be up to us what state it occupies. An old Native American saying tells of our state of being as like that of two wolves, the good wolf and the bad wolf, battling within us. The wise chief asks his grandson which wolf wins this battle. His grandson responds very concerned, "Grandfather, I do not know. Which wolf wins?" The chief tells his grandson, "The one that you feed." Society teaches us to focus on externalities, using them as a metric to our success or failure. This perspective causes us to experience our entire state of being on the other. The founders of the ancient peace traditions taught us to look within to find peace, health, and happiness, that the only source of love, wisdom, power, and joy resides within our spirit, at the center of our being. Like the eye of the storm, all hell could be breaking loose around you, and the peace at your center remains undisturbed. This is in our control, not subject to any outside influence. We need only be aware of our power to commune with the forces of the cosmos, love, wisdom, power, and joy, which are found at the deepest, smallest, quietest point of our being, and through communion with the forces of nature, sun, air, water, earth, which are abundant and all around us. These were gifted us by the Creator for the advancement of our personal evolution and of that of mankind. In this way, the ancients taught us to find peace within, to radiate love, wisdom, power, and joy, to seek beauty in all things, to strive to be intentional in thought, compassionate in word, and mindful in deed, to be simple, innocent, and sincere in everything that we do. The way of truth is found in accepting all things within your life situation as if you had chosen them, as if your higher self purposely selected this series of tests to grow and challenge you to evolve as a point of light in the cosmos, to advance your degree of consciousness toward oneness with all creation, toward communion with the All-Father, toward spirituality, which is the purpose of life. This is the optimal way of living, the result of personal evolution along the path of peace, not that of coping with and maintaining trauma in your life, which is presented to modern sensibilities by the misguided and ill-advised moniker, stress management.